If you are one of my regular viewers, you're probably already familiar with the world of Thief fan missions, so this video won't be of much interest to you. However, I know that new people, as few as they may be, still join the community, and their biggest question is always, which fan mission should I play first? Seeking the answer to that is pretty straightforward. You can ask for recommendations on TTLG or any other place where Thief fans hang out, or just visit a website like Thief Guild and look at which missions have the highest user ratings. However, this approach has a certain, well, I don't want to call it a problem, but let's say a peculiarity. Indeed, the missions you discover this way will be the best of the best, the all-time classics, and the must-plays for every Thief fan. However, they are usually nothing like the missions from the original games, in terms of challenge and complexity. And this might be exactly what you want. After all, the appeal of fan-made content is to get a new experience, not more of the same. But I've also heard stories of people trying out some of those classics, only to be met with crushing difficulty and just give up on fan missions. As a matter of fact, this is nearly what happened to me. One of the first fan missions I played was Calendra's Legacy. I saw it recommended over and over in several TTLG threads, so I tried it out, and I kinda hated it. It felt really punishing, almost unfair at times, and while I did grow to appreciate it over the years, I would never recommend it to newcomers. And I assume this phenomenon exists in other modern communities, but I can't say with certainty since I'm not part of any of them. So then, how would I go about choosing fan missions to recommend to newcomers? Well, I think they should fit two important criteria. They should be of about the same difficulty and size as the original missions, but more importantly, they should prepare the player for those bigger and more complicated fan missions. With that in mind, I've chosen 10 missions of various styles, from Mansion Heist to Tomb Raids, that fit this criteria, as well as give you an idea of what you're getting yourself into with fan missions at large. Think of this list as a vertical slice of the entire Thief modding scene. But before I move on to those, let me quickly address another question that people new to Thief modding commonly ask. How do I actually play fan missions? The process of installing them can seem confusing at first, especially since there is no simple all-in-one place guide. Or there wasn't one until recently. In the video description, I'll link Nick's comprehensive guide to playing fan missions. It covers everything, from how to patch your games with the latest New York version, to where you can download missions and how to actually launch them. With that taken care of, let's finally delve into the recommendations. Let's start with the obvious. In my fan mission retrospective video, I said that if you've never played a fan mission before, you should begin with Thief 2X, and I stand by it. This campaign is brilliant, and while it may feel fan-made in aspects like character models, stuff that really matters, such as level design, is superb. Thief 2X feels like a really nice mix of Thief 1 and 2. It is easier than both of those games, and while this can rightfully be criticized, you still can't just breeze through it. If it's been a while since you played Thief, it's perfect for getting used to its mechanics again. Next, I will recommend two Mansion Heist missions, with Geller's Pride being the first. This one is an early mission, so it does show its age, but so does Thief Gold. If you're fine with how Ramirez's mansion looks in Assassins, you'll be fine with this too. What I like about Geller's Pride is its really smart design. The mansion has an alarm system that might seem like it's broken, until you observe it and figure out how it works. Plus, there is a slight puzzle element to the mission as well. More on that topic later. But as much as I enjoy the design of Geller's Pride, I think Heist Society is an absolute masterpiece in that regard. The mission presents with a number of objectives that you can complete in whichever order you want, and some of those you can even complete in multiple ways. Note, however, that at least on expert difficulty, the mission pretty much requires you to find a secret to complete one of its objectives, so don't feel bad if you need to look up a hint. And once again, there is a puzzle element to the mission. Get used to that. By far the most popular are city missions, which is funny given that the original games don't really have anything like this. You don't explore the city in Assassins, and it's hard to call Ambush a city mission. Most city missions feel like the first half of life of the party, though you're usually allowed to use the street level. And once again, I have two recommendations. All for a Night's Sleep is more of an appetizer. It's pretty small, but there is a bit of verticality to it, and exploration feels rewarded throughout. It's good as an introduction to city missions. And once you're done with that, I would recommend Endless Rain. Now, this mission is much bigger, but it's also very accessible. You will need to find some rope arrows, since your starting loadout has none, but once you do, this mission is great for getting you into the habit of looking up. And you will need to get into that habit, because most city missions are just vertical and require you to always look out for places to rope up to. Endless Rain just happens to be more on the easy side, and it will give you an idea of how big these missions can be and how you should be navigating them. If you're a fan of zombies and tomb raids, I have some bad news. This mission type is not as well represented as the former two, and when you do play one of the highest rated tomb raid missions, there is a good chance it'll rely heavily on puzzle solving, so let's finally talk about that. The presence of puzzles in fan missions is a major trend, though it's hard to pinpoint where it originates. You could say the original missions had puzzles in them, but those were always really simple. The puzzles in fan missions, on the other hand, are something you would find in an adventure game. You'll be solving riddles, collecting quest items that you need to use on other quest items, and, inevitably, backtracking. Puzzles is something you can expect to find in a fan mission regardless of its type, but as I said, tomb raids showcase this style of gameplay best, and playing the following two missions will give you an idea of how it usually flows. Whispers in the Desert takes place in a foreign country inspired by ancient Egypt. You'll be exploring a pyramid, dodging traps and mummies, and solving puzzles that are relatively simple but plentiful. In my opinion, this is one of the best missions to get a feel for this style of gameplay without getting overwhelmed or stuck a bunch of times. Key Hunt is also good for this. The puzzles in it are a bit tougher than in Whispers, but the mission is so small that you won't have to wander around looking for clues too much. It's a great training for tackling one of the bigger tomb raids, or one of those big mansions that has a tomb under it. The horror genre is represented in fan missions a lot more than in the original games. Even if you're playing a fan mission that isn't strictly a horror one, there is a chance it'll contain something spooky. And even if horror isn't your cup of tea, I'd recommend, you guessed it, two more missions. Into the Maelstrom is a small adventure featuring pirates. Undead pirates, to be precise. This mission won't try to scare you outright, but its atmosphere is incredibly well done. And if you're playing an expert, you will need to scour the grotto you're in pretty well in search of loot. I realize this sounds like an awful sales pitch, but having all our objectives fulfilled apart from the loot goal is something that's a bit more common in fan missions compared to the original ones. It's not too bad, and the best missions usually have pretty reasonable loot goals, but it is something to keep in mind. The other horror recommendation is A Better Tomorrow. This one is definitely spookier than Into the Maelstrom, and while it doesn't contain explicit jump scares, the atmosphere is so tense that even encountering a basic enemy can result in one. Definitely play this one when it's dark. Finally, I'll recommend Blood Mist Tower, a mission in the comedy genre. Just like with horror elements, you can expect to encounter quite a few jokes in fan missions, as authors love injecting their personality into their creations. But some missions, like Blood Mist Tower, are created mainly to make you laugh. It still plays like a regular mission, don't get me wrong, but its main draw is all the wacky stuff you'll be encountering along the way. This is also one of the very few missions that manage to make me laugh with its readables. And that's it for my list. Now, going back to what I said earlier, that the most common way to choose fan missions to play is to go for the highest rated ones, you'll notice that half or more of the missions in my list aren't highly rated at all. In fact, some of them are rarely even brought up these days. So just in case, I will clarify. I am not saying that you must play the mid-tier missions before you are allowed to play the good stuff. I also don't think that you need to play the older missions so that you can fully appreciate the new ones. What I am saying is that I believe you will enjoy those old and new classics a lot more if you play these missions first. You'll know what to expect, and you'll already be familiar with some tricks used by fan mission authors that weren't present in the original games. This theory of mine is untested, but I don't think it's entirely baseless either. Anyway, do you agree with my criteria for choosing missions and the choices themselves? Are you disappointed that a specific mission isn't in the list? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.